I'm just about to adjust the tappets on my 1974 1300 Allegro. I'm wrapped up like an Eskimo because it's rather cold, and yes, it's raining. Fantastic. We're gonna whip this top cover off. You can call it a rocker cover because the tappets are rockers and they're underneath there. So I'll undo that bolt and that bolt, and then that'll pop right off, that will. You might have to watch the little vacuum advance hose and cables out the way and things. Best thing to do as well to make life easier, I've got my plugs numbered, or leads numbered shall I say. Pop the leads off, pop the spark plugs out, and that'll make it easier, you'll see soon, to check the tappets. I also want to advise, I've looked in the Haynes manual for this car, and I don't know if it's just me, but I found it very confusing. It just didn't seem simple. So this is a page out of the actual workshop manual for this Allegro. Big green folder it is, and it's massive, so I don't take the whole thing out. This is the page out of it. Can't see the page number, I can't remember which one it was now. But yes, it's got the information we need here. Okay, so the piece of information I need here is the clearance. So I need to go and get a feeler gauge that measures that, and then this is the order in which we will check the tappets, but you'll see that better once I've got the top cover off. I'll do that now. So I've got a 5/8 spanner, 5/8. I won't focus, never mind. 5/8 spanner, just to undo these here, both of those. And the other thing I was going to mention was feeler gauges. So I've got the set of feeler gauges, big clumsy set. Just find the one you want, undo the bloody thing and take it out, because it's a lot easier. Just don't lose it obviously, and remember to put it back with all the others. So this is the gauge we want, which is the 0.012 inches, which will be that fella there. Okay, and you want to use that end, not the bit that bolts into the thing. You want to use that end, and that's the depth of the gap that we want in the tappet. So this picture here is a picture of the rocker, and we'll be shoving that in there, as you'll see when I've got the cover off, which I still haven't done. Stop talking, Alex. And make sure you've got a new gasket for the top cover as well, because you don't want to reuse the old gasket, you just end up with oil everywhere. Spark plug socket, size 14. It's got the rubber in there to protect the porcelain piece. And I say, whip these plugs out and it will just make turning the engine over easier. So be very gentle, and just want to get a nice straight clean turn. They shouldn't be over tightened anyway, so when you do come to putting them back in, don't do them up silly tight. They don't need to be silly tight. And I normally put a little bit of copper grease around the thread as well. I find that helps. Right, you don't want the car in gear, and you don't want the keys in ignition. So you want to find a socket that fits this pulley down here, this one here. Yeah, I haven't actually got the right size, stupidly enough. I've got a 34mm socket that it does fit. It's not a snug fit, but this is what I mean about having the spark plugs out, because an engine creates a lot of pressure, like they call it compression. So if we take the spark plugs out, it just relieves a bit of the pressure. So when we come to turning this bottom pulley with your, see it's turning all the belt and everything, it turns, and all these little rockers, if you can see, go up and down. Yeah. Now this is where the manual comes in handy. Just leave the socket out of the way. This is where the manual comes in handy, because it's got an order of which you should check them. So you want to check number 1 valve first, with number 8 fully open. Okay, so this is number 1. We want to be checking the gap in number 1. So to do that, we need to make sure that this valve, number 8, this is an example now of how to get number 8, is what they call open. So then you can check number 1, which is what's on the list. You start off checking number 1 with number 8 open. So I normally keep turning my ratchet on the pulley clockwise. And see it's going down, it's pushing down. We want to get it back up. So it's coming up, it's coming up, coming up. Just slowly, you're just slowly turning it. See, now I've just turned it a bit more and you saw the one next to it move, but that one didn't move. So what, at that point I would then go anti-clockwise, and you'll see it just go to push it down again. So then I would come back up, and that's the point you want. They call it, I think they call it on the rocks. So it's just as it's come up, you stop there and you grab your gauge, and you want to check number 1 now. So this is what you want to do, stick it in that gap here. Okay, that's how you check the clearances. Okay, and you can feel when I'm pulling that in and out, you can feel it scraping. That's good, because you don't want it loose and floppy, because it'll be noisy. At that point you'd want to adjust it, but that is good. But if you couldn't fit that in because it was too tight, that's not good. A noisy tappet's a happy tappet. A very tight one is not a happy tappet. So at that point again you'd want to adjust it to make it looser, and then you can adjust it so you get that nice feel to it. I mean, mine should be all okay because I've not long ago checked them. Back to the list. Next one is number 3. So we want to check number 3 with our gauge, with number 6 fully open as what we call on the rock. So you count number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we want this one rocking next. So again, you go clockwise. It hardly moved. So again, I would go anti-clockwise. Try and keep the camera still. You go anti-clockwise. There you go. See, he's gone down. So go clockwise, slowly. That's it. He's up. So he's open. So laugh at yourself as you drop the gauge in the grill because you took it off of the other gauges like an idiot. So we're checking number 3. 1, 2, 3. So we'll stick the gauge in there, and again, that's a lovely fit. Now I'm going to go through all the others and see if there's one that needs adjusting, so I can show you how to adjust them. Right, So I'm now checking number 2 with number 7 open. So number 7, that one is now on the rocks, as they put it. It's open. And we're checking number 2. Number 2. Ooh, that is a bit floppy in there. Yeah, that's not a nice tight fit like the others. It's a bit floppy. So I normally leave that there. Now this is going to be awkward because I need 2 hands. Right. We need a 7/16 spanner and a flathead screwdriver for this. So what we're going to do, and I'll show you the best I can, is we're going to hold that steady, yeah, with the screwdriver, and whilst we've got that steady, we want to keep that in the position it's at, and then we want to get the spanner, this is why I need 2 hands, and you need to slacken this nut off. And if you don't hold the screwdriver there, the whole thing twists and it's just not what you want to happen. So what will happen is you'll hold it steady with the flathead there, you'll slacken this off ever so slightly, just a little turn, and then because this is loose, yeah, this is terribly loose actually, we then want to turn the screwdriver clockwise ever so slightly, and then we want to, once we've done that, we then check that clearance until it feels good. So it's a nice slidey fit, you know, a tight fit. Once it's in the right position, you then keep that screw steady with the screwdriver, and then you tighten up the nut. You have to be careful because when you tighten this nut, sometimes the screw wants to turn too, and then you'll end up with an over tightened tappet, and we don't want that. So once you've tightened it up and kept it steady, you then recheck it. Now I've done it before and I haven't been able to pull that out because it's done up too tight, and at that point you just want, well, hopefully that helped, and hopefully you've adjusted your tappet successfully. If I were you, if it's your first time, I would just go through the list again and just check them all again. You know, especially if you've made adjustments, go through, just check them all again. And I say do it in the order of the list, because otherwise if you mix up the list, you'll just be turning the engine round and round and round and round and round, and it'll take you forever. But doing it that way, each one is ready to open as such. So definitely follow the list in the manual, and I think it is in the Haynes manual, it's just that I prefer this page out of the workshop manual. So all the tappets are adjusted. I can now put the spark plugs back in, the leads back on, and scrape the old gasket off. Big thick thing, scrape it off, get rid of it, clean all the surface up, a little bit of sandpaper, get any residue off, and also clean the mating surface of the cover as well. And then you want to fit the new gasket on, and I normally put a little smear of sort of instant gasket, that blue Hylamar, and just smear it round the gasket so it just sticks nicely, so when you put the cover on it doesn't try and slide off and go all over the place. Yeah, once that's done, put the 2 little nuts back on top, make sure everything's connected, and I personally would let it run for a little bit and maybe change the oil and the oil filter at this stage, because you have been messing about in there. Yeah, that's the advice I can give. Hope I haven't missed anything out. Cheers.